For millennia, the quest for food and riches has motivated man to journey out to sea. Hainan is China's southernmost province. The warm tropical sun and the world's widest continental shelf have bred more than 1,500 types of fish and several hundred species of marine animals in its surrounding waters. In August each year, as the fishing season is about to begin, the Tanka people here are preparing to set sail. Tanka, or the boat people, have made the sea their home. They have lived on boats for about 2 millennia. Dozens of boats are tied together to form their villages. Children are born here, and the elderly die here. The location of Tanka villages is determined not just by land features, but by ocean currents, shoals of fish, and the wind. Until the 1940s, some Tanka villages would appear in a given location each spring and summer with the south winds and disappear in winter with the north winds. Centuries of drifting with the currents has made the Tanka outstanding seafarers and fishermen. Huang Yalu is preparing to dive to the deep ocean floor. Like his forefathers, the only tools he uses are a harpoon and goggles. He started diving when he was just 10 years old. Even without the aid of counterweights, he can dive to a depth of almost 20 meters. As he descends into the deep, the water pressure increases. After 2 minutes, it has squeezed almost all the air from his lungs. Ice-cold currents on the seabed work to irritate ear canals, bring acute pain and dizziness. This causes many divers to lose all sense of direction. Every second is crucial for Huang. Such struggles are to be expected whenever humans venture out into harsh environments. Since ancient times, in the search for food, resources, and wealth, people have overcome extremes to set up homes in the most unlikely places. The game of survival has changed both us and our natural surroundings. Man's continuous confrontation, compromise, conquest, and compliance with nature have brought different environmental outlooks in different ethnic groups. As the scythe sweeps across his scalp, Gun Liangsheng begins his coming-of-age ceremony, officiated by the village elder. For the next few days, the elder will teach this 8-year-old child the basics of forced survival.
我们这个剃这个头发髻，我们还是保持我们这个传统。发髻上面这个代表一棵树，人就是一棵树。
The Despite being home to 139 billion trees, the average area of forest per capita in China is only 1/4 of the global average. Today, such greenery is a rare and precious resource in China. The Basha village lies in China's southwestern province of Guizhou. Surrounded by the forest here, Gun Liangsheng and his clansmen are among the few ethnic groups in China to have retained their traditional lifestyle. In the past, life in the forest was filled with danger. To prepare them for it, boys have undergone a coming-of-age ceremony when they are just 7 years old. During the ceremony, the first gift they receive is a musket. Muskets are an essential survival tool for the Basha people. Although Chinese law normally controls firearms strictly, Basha men are still allowed to carry muskets to preserve their traditions and culture. Most of the guns they make themselves. Adults manufacture the metal components. The wood used for the grip traditionally must come from an orange tree felled by the boy himself near his own home. Orange tree wood is hard and does not splinter easily. A musket grip made from this wood will serve the child for his entire life. The village elder will give Gun Liangsheng his first lesson in hunting. Now he must be fully alert to his surroundings to track his quarry. To shoot an animal, he will learn to rely on his hearing and smell. More importantly, he will learn to use his instincts to judge risk. Six kilometers from Basha village lies Songjiang County, where Gun Liangsheng's father works. For an 8-year-old boy, the city offers more temptations and attractions than the simple Miao village. As the city expands closer to the village, knowledge and skills accumulated over several centuries of forest life are of less and less practical use. Gun Liangsheng's father now travels there for work. So why should the boy himself follow the village elder to learn the ways of surviving in nature? In Yarkant County, Xinjiang, a muddy torrent thunders downriver. Annual floodwaters now inundate the bed of the Tarim River. The Tarim River is China's longest inland waterway. Its source lies among the snow-topped peaks and glaciers of the Pamir Mountains. After flowing more than 2,000 kilometers, it peters out into China's largest desert, the Taklamakan. To locals, the Tarim is known as a runaway horse. Every summer, as the temperature rises, the melting of snow and ice in the mountains causes a rush of water, violently cutting through the soft soil of the land. When the water rises high enough to burst the river's banks, the surrounding area turns into a lake. Ka'ar village lies on the banks of the river. To defend themselves against floods, the villagers use tree bows to construct simple embankments. First, 3 trunks, 3 meters in length each, are lashed together with wire to form a cone. The inside of the frame is then stuffed with leaf-covered branches. Finally, the frames are lowered into the water. By becoming waterlogged, the frame and branches add weight and external force to the structures, firmly fixing them in the mud of the riverbed. Their design is primitive, but they can greatly reduce the force of the current and weaken the erosion of the river's banks. Every summer sees the same battle between man and nature. Despite the villagers' efforts, the floods will eventually carry away most of the flood barriers, and with them, the villagers' hard work. Why, then, do they not construct more substantial embankments, bringing nature under their control once and for all? For Bianzhou, bringing nature under man's control is not just a job, it's his life's mission. Bianzhou's home is in Loka, Tibet, where the warm and moist air currents of the Indian Ocean are blocked from reaching by the Himalayas. Loka lies in the valley of the Yarlung Tsangpo River, but has little precipitation. For 7 months from December each year, the winds in the valley reach speeds of up to 17 meters per second. Even yaks are unable to withstand such a force. Once the dust settles, the land turns into a desert.
风大的时候，早上风就这样东北来的，全部就这样冲过去的。下午还有6点7点的时候，鸟风就这样西边来的，就这样，把树根子他们挖到了。
The best way to prevent sand encroachment is to plant trees. To prepare the soil for this, square-meter straw checkerboards reduce wind erosion. Sowing grass seed within the squares then fixes the soil. Once the soil layer is stabilized, cuttings can be planted in the soil. In about 3 years, there will be hundreds of thousands of saplings. Bianzhou is proud of his plan. With time and patience, he hopes forest will reconquer the desert. The Taklamakan is China's largest desert. Dunes stretch as far as the eye can see, and in places the land is as desolate as the moon's surface. Karchuga village lies in this bleak region. Unlike most people who live in desert, the main source of livelihood for the Lop Nur people is not herding, but fishing. The Lop Nur people hollow out poplar trees into dugout canoes. Using these traditional vehicles, they can hunt fish. In addition to protein, the fish are a good source of salt, which is scarce in the desert, as well as other essential micronutrients. Water is of course scarce in a desert, so why is there a relative abundance of it here? Lop Nur was once a salt lake. When the Tarim and Shula rivers flood each year, water once again crosses its dunes to cover hundreds of kilometers of desert in a floodplain. Flooding like this was once seen as a disaster. Now, it is recognized as a means of survival for the poplar trees here. The Euphrates poplar is the most tenacious living thing in the desert. Mature trees can grow root systems as deep as they are high in their search for water. Poplar saplings rely completely on the annual floods for survival. After the floods pass, water permeates the porous soil to nourish the saplings. Over tens of thousands of years, this water has formed into river channels, stretching for thousands of kilometers below the desert's surface. The repeated inundation of floodplains carries poplar seeds and saplings into the depths of the desert. With the passage of time, the world's largest Euphrates poplar forest, covering 38,000 hectares, has formed in the Taklamakan, the desert that is dubbed the Sea of Death. The poplar forest's ability to hold water enables locals to fish and hunt in the depths of the desert, forming the core of Lop Nur culture. When a local dies, their body will be laid out in the canoe that has served them throughout their life. They believe they can only complete the cycle of life when they return to the great waters and poplar forests in which their forefathers lived. Nature's splendor and scale are on full display in this great land. Nature traverses time and space to form a circle of life. Within this circle, it manifests its own rules in the most unexpected ways. Legend has it that Saru, near the town of Setong, was the first land to be cultivated in Tibet. Only a river separates it from Bianzhou's sapling nurseries. Bianzhou does all he can to overcome the wind and dust. But in Saru, the wind was historically a benefactor. When it abated, it deposited earth, minerals, and the remains of wind-blown plants to form a soil layer on which humans scattered seeds and gathered a harvest. This formed the basis for the earliest civilization on the plateau.
We are all travelers, in one way or another, in search of a truth, a light that will lead us in our quest. Adventures that will fill our spirit and soul. An exploration beyond what can ever be imagined.
How do the people here see themselves in terms of their place in the cycle of nature? Chen Shuxin is 12 years old. From a young age, the unique environment of her upbringing has caused her to think about such questions. Chen Shuxin was born in Shenzhen, where just 40 years ago, there was only a sleepy fishing village. Today, there is a metropolis of over 10 million people. Chen Shuxin's parents came to Shenzhen after they graduated from college. Beneficiaries of the city's extraordinary growth, they enjoyed success and prosperity, and are now able to provide a good education and quality of life for their child. Although they did well in providing a solid foundation for their child's future, however, they found that she was still not happy. The black-faced spoonbill winters on the south coast of China and is the emblem of Shenzhen. Among the 6 species of spoonbill in the world today, it is the only one listed as an endangered species. Chen Shuxin first encountered this bird at the age of 6. She saw a spoonbill mother in the city instead of its natural environment, trying in vain to find a home for its chick, and it moved her to tears. Since then, finding a home for spoonbill chicks has been her biggest wish. Chen Shuxin finds it hard to answer such questions. She has a home in the city with her parents, with spacious rooms and a piano. While Chen's home has been getting bigger, the spoonbills has been shrinking. In the past few years, 69 square kilometers of land has been reclaimed from the sea near her neighborhood. Chen Shusin begged her father to set up a non-profit organization to clean garbage from the ocean. She knows doing this is far from enough, but at least it might give spoonbills a clean place to grow up. People move to cities for a better life. The attractive jobs and comfortable housing they seek need space, which has, for the most part, been taken from the natural world. Ultimately, the expansion of cities comes at the expense of the environment. Trees, water, and even clean air become increasingly scarce, and people start to produce expensive equipment to save nature. Urbanization has been a necessary accompaniment to industrialization, but city living has put humans in a vicious cycle. How can we break it? The Wudong mountain range in Hubei is home to China's most famous Taoist temple complex. With mist covering its peaks, forests, and lakes, the landscape is as perfect as a classical painting. Pilgrims have been coming here to meditate since the Han Dynasty, more than 2,000 years ago. By controlling your thoughts and breathing, it is believed you can elevate your body and soul to a higher state of being.
你看没有？看的是很凶的一线，你看不要这样一躲，是不是？然后看这个，对，还不够，力量大一点。身体，以后马上就变了，你看。
Kung Fu is an essential part of Taoist practice. Practitioners may imitate animals, plants, or even clouds and water to come up with new fighting moves. Devotees believe that repeated practice will not only enhance their physical condition in the shortest possible time, but also help them understand the mysteries of nature.
I'm also a PhD student in anthropology at the University of Alberta in Canada. My supervisor, Jean Debonardi, did research in Wudang Mountain for 7 years, and I highly recommended I come here to study my topic. I've come from very far to learn Udang Wushu. I've been training for 1 month and I would like your permission to join the advanced sparring class.
I think you just training 1 month. I think it's hard for you to join this class.
I've trained very hard for this month. I'll do whatever it takes to join the class.
You should know that when they're training, they are fighting, they have good coordination. Otherwise, you get hurt, you get hurt. Maybe happen.
My body's strong, I can take it.
If you want to try, I will tell.
In ancient China, people believed that everything in nature is composed of 5 elements: metal, wood, water, fire, and earth. The 5 elements restrict each other, but also give birth to each other. An axe made of metal can cut down trees, but the trees can be used as fuel for fire, which can also melt metal. With this simple theory derived from observation, the Chinese people have seen nature as a complete system with continuous cycles for as long as 2,000 years. Unlike the West, whether in life or in Kung Fu, the purpose is not to win a competition of natural selection. The aim is to make yourself an equal member of this system through continuous cycles. In Chinese culture, this pursuit is called being at one with the universe. After repeated failures, the foreign apprentice finally understands what his master is trying to get across. His goal is no longer to win the fight, but to work together with his companions to pursue the most beautiful goal in nature: harmony. Luoping in Yunnan lies on the Tropic of Cancer. Its abundant sunshine, water, and fertile soil make it the first place in China where canola flowers blossom. Dotted with conical peaks, more than 50,000 hectares of canola are spread out in a vast expanse of flowers. Qin Chongliang earns his living with these flowers. He is a beekeeper.
一箱蜂啊，看蜂是强的，强的可以采到个5、6公斤，如果弱的呢，有可能就是半公斤、1公斤左右。
The area around Luoping is the Yunnan Guizhou Plateau. Over hundreds of millions of years, tectonic movements have lifted thick strata of limestone, or calcium carbonate, up from what was once a seabed to high elevations here. Water erosion then worked to carve the rock into gorgeous formations. If the landscape is like a canvas created by geological forces, then the painting on that canvas can be said to have been laid down by bees just as much as people. Bees are essential for the pollination of canola, as well as many other crops. Some experts believe that if bees were to disappear, mankind could only continue on for a few more years. Every year in Luoping, when the canola flowers are in full bloom, honeybees from nearly 40,000 colonies are busy with this work. They are the reason why the rapeseed yield in Luoping is 40% higher than in other areas. Beekeepers like Chen need good bees, and to make them produce honey, the first thing they need to do is domesticate them.
风子也不好找了，找着也测不出来。
检不出来就不找。
不找我们只有好像屋头里管好的。
今天上山我也不放心。
管好，争取明年养到180哦。
In Luoping, there are two types of bees, native Chinese bees and imported Italian bees. Chen's goal is to find Chinese bees. Chinese bees become active at 6 in the morning and, in total, work for 4 more hours a day than Italian bees. They have been pollinating local crops for thousands of years. That means they are better at finding plants that Italian bees often overlook. The biggest advantage of using local bees is their obedience. Once the queen has been captured, the whole group will follow her to the hive. Bees set up colonies far apart in the wild to avoid predators and each other. Their honeycombs are often hidden in cliffs. Catching a queen bee requires not only physical agility, but also courage. Smoke calms restless bees and makes them less aggressive. Central to the task is to make the queen appear. Chen finally bags his hard-earned prize. Within the context of millions of years of evolution, his efforts may seem negligible. It is because humans continue to do this kind of work that they have managed to minimize conflict between man and nature. Harmony is not about defying nature or seeing humans as superior to other creatures. It's about finding a place for everything in the cycle of nature. For thousands of years, Chinese people like Qin Chongliang have been living in the embrace of nature. Through hard work, Chinese people live harmonious and sustainable lives and achieve a balance between man and nature. Back in the Basha Miao village, Gunliang Sheng is starting the most difficult part of his coming-of-age ritual. He has to learn to mimic the sounds of nature with an instrument made of bamboo.
ตั้งจุ่มนะอาทิสั่งนอกจากมีหัวพัดกับหัวพัดหัวชาวบ้านมันก็ยาวายขันพาชนทั้งอันนี้ก็จะตั้งจุ่มที่ได้หัวละตัน
Basha men must master this essential skill, not only to propose to their fiancés, but also to communicate with their ancestors. When a Basha person is born, a tree is chosen to represent them in the forest. When they die, they are buried under the tree. There are no graves in Basha villages. For children, every tree in the forest is a relative. They often refer to the trees as their grandparents and elders.
进我们的坟墓上面全部是大树，人就埋了树根，树就养人，人就养树，树呢水分往下流，就为了我们灌溉我们的田，就为了我们这个生活。
Ancient practices may not have much practical use today, but wisdom accumulated over time can still guide us in our lives. And perhaps, by the time we cross the boundary between human and nature and connect to each other, there will be more harmony in our lives.
There is a message from National Treasures. Please check it. The year is 2018, and another of China's national treasures is about to spill its secrets. Liye Chin slips are held in their own Liye Chin Slips Museum in Hunan Province. The wooden slips look inconspicuous, but hidden in the blurred characters is a huge amount of information. It describes the life of a county under the Qin dynasty in the late 3rd century BC. In June 2002, the discovery of over 37,400 slips in an ancient well in Liye, Hunan Province excited the world.
这片秦简上记录的内容，我们可以看到字迹已经很不清晰了。它经过火烧过、水泡过，就很难再现它本身的这个原貌。但是我们通过一些技术，比如说多光谱的采集，可以把它很好的再浮现出来。
This is the record of a family that lived 2,200 years ago. The householder was Zheng Bu Boa and given the title of Bu Gong, which exempted him from corvée service. He had a wife called Yo, and their son was called Zhao She. It's an example of early imperial bureaucracy.
是不是很像我们现在的户口本？我还知道有一片更像身份证。
Wu Sao from Han Shen Li in Handan. He has yellow skin, elliptical face, and is about 170 centimeters tall. In 23 characters, it introduces us to Wu Sao from Han Shen Li in Handan. With the slip, Wu Sao could avoid his identity being stolen. Officials could also use it as census data. Although Wu's body has long turned to dust, this wooden slip has preserved his appearance for millennia. After Qin Shi Huang united his empire, he imposed a system of prefectures and counties. There were more than 40 prefectures in total. Dongting Prefecture's Qianling County was in all respects unremarkable amongst them. The officials here were typical bureaucrats of their time. The Li Ya-Qin slips are the day-to-day record of their government work. Most of the slips relate to life in the Qin dynasty, after Qin Shi Huang united the warring states. They cover events and affairs on a daily and monthly basis, from 221 BC to 209 BC. Each slip is the record of an event. It's a model of how the Qin administrative system worked. The over 37,000 pieces of slips are an encyclopedia of county life in the Qin dynasty. They cover subjects including postal communication, the administrative organization system, trade, arithmetic, daily events, and festivals. It's a panorama of the operation of a Qin county under the system of prefectures and counties. In 219 BC, the death rate of corvée service personnel in the county reached an alarming 1 in 7. In 215 BC, the county's warehouse manager sold the last 15 liters of wine to a man called Cheng. In the same year, there were 55,534 households in Qianling. And there are even 3 pieces of one of the oldest multiplication tables discovered to date. There are less than 1,000 words in the official dynastic records about the administrative system and social life under the Qin. However, the 200,000 characters of the Li Ya-Qin slips vastly expand on this vacuum. The lives of the officials and subjects of the early empire live on in these 37,000 slips. They are truly a shining treasure house of history. There is a message from National Treasures. Please check it. The tranquil and ordered scenery belies the extraordinary magnificence of what lies beneath. Below the modest monument lies a tomb in which the history of an empire is frozen for all eternity. It was in 1974 that the first stirrings of an incredible discovery were made. An underground army, part of the vast tomb complex for China's first emperor, was gradually disinterred. The dust on the mirror was accidentally stirred up. Terracotta warriors and horses of the first emperor of Qin at the foot of Lishan Mountain were exposed. The mirror of time allows us to reflect on what this means, then and now. Qin Shi Huang's 7,000-strong immortal army is arrayed in 3 great pits near his tomb at Lintong in Xi'an, the site of the Qin capital. 160 of these terracotta warriors in kneeling position were excavated at the east end of pit number 2. They form the vanguard. They are archers, clad in their armor and hair tied up, ready for battle, holding real weaponry in their hands as they entered the underworld. This archer is among the most junior rank in the battle array. He is also the epitome of these Qin warriors. His head and back are straight, as his legs crossed over each other to form a steady triangle, a posture that provides both a steady platform from which to fight and offers a small target to the enemy. This would have been textbook training drilled into his living comrades. Our archer's chest and stomach are protected by large sections of plate. The shoulders and waist have smaller pieces, allowing him to move and wield his bow. The raised right foot supports the weight of the entire body. The detailing of his footwear is precise. A thick, robust heel and toe for marching. Even the tread on the sole has been carefully reproduced to allow him to fight effectively in the netherworld. The posture, the armor, and the clothing are exact reproductions of actual warriors. Their faces, beards, and hair all differentiated. Only their weapons of bronze and wood have struggled with the test of time. When they were first discovered and excavated, there was still color in the warriors' apparel and faces. Faces that appeared to be so real they might have been alive. These are the faces of the men who united the warring states into one great empire at the behest of their king. The stars travel across the sky. Mountains and rivers stretch over the land. Generations come and go. But these man-made effigies hold the kaleidoscope of time stopped in their hands. Their power still rules the land. Their emperor still commands. Above ground, the dynasty of Qin Shi Huang is long gone, superseded by many others, imitators all. Under the surface, in China's heart, these warriors still await command. They are gone, yet they're here, and in truth, buried for all those centuries, they never left.